Right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another packed day of content. As you can tell from the session descriptions, we have a new roster of tracks today, very focused on specific tactics and disciplines in the world of e-commerce. This is the new approaches to branding and advertising track. So we're going to be digging into a lot of the new implications, the new trends, and of course the new channels and tactics that digital brands or even omni-channel brands need to incorporate into their toolkits and of course their investments moving forward. So our first session, I think is going to be a really good foundation to some of the other trends and topics through the rest of the day. So I am thrilled to introduce Jeff Campbell, president of Ecommerce. He is also a marketing educator. He actually did some work here at the University of Chicago, so great background there. So he's going to do a quick introduction into some of the trends that he's seeing, and then we're going to get a fantastic panel of senior leaders who are going to share their perspectives on how they're combating things like the need for more first-party data, the expansion of channels, and so much more. So without further ado, Jeff, welcome. We're so excited to have you. Take it away.
Thanks, Erica. Appreciate it. As Erica mentioned, I'm going to just set the stage, set the foundation a little bit, and then invite some of our 6- and 7-digit sellers, kind of that small and mid-sized companies that are really native e-commerce, heavy Amazon and marketplaces, as well as their DTC websites, to kind of talk about how these trends impact their business. So 6 minutes, 28 seconds, and then on to the good stuff. Lots of stats, but I'll highlight what's important here. First of all, general e-commerce growth and retail e-commerce growth is around 14 to 15% annual growth for the next couple years. The stats behind the stats here are really interesting. 75% of e-commerce sales are now coming from non-native brands that are selling in e-commerce. We're seeing the native disruptors starting to take a little bit of a back seat. They're only seeing 12-13% growth, while the 15 to 17% growth are some of the traditional brands that are finally adopting and adapting to this e-commerce world. In the middle, 4 out of 5 retail sales are still done in the physical world and still offline in bricks and mortar sales. Now contrast that to a country like China, which is majority, 56-57% digital purchase, where they've really embraced that. And that's going to play into some of the trends we're going to talk about competition and more later. And then while you guys can download this or take a picture, there are some differences in the categories which you can look at later. So the channels where the growth are coming from, and as you look on your far left here, Amazon, the behemoth, and we're all kind of cheering for that competition, Walmart, eBay, Apple, Home Depot, and more, right? So no major surprises, but you're starting to kind of see that distribution. What's, I think, even more interesting is the middle chart, and that's where people are seeing growth now. So you have Etsy, and you have Chewy, and you see some of these interesting things like Kroger, where there's some of the traditional retail stores are getting together their marketplaces and really seeing that growth. But Amazon's still up there and still seeing that growth at somewhere in that mix. And then let's not forget about social commerce, right? TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. People are still checking out and buying on those platforms as well. It's not just about your D2C site or marketplaces, but also social commerce. So we'll talk about a lot of these things later. Let's dive into Amazon with a little quiz here. What percent, quiz for you all, what percent of consumer product searches start on Amazon? Anybody want to go with 31%? 56%? All right, what about 74%? Those with their hands up are right. 74% according to Jungle Scout's survey. That has to keep up all executives at Google. That is a scary stat and a big shift we've seen over the last couple years. So continuing down into Amazon's growth, I mentioned it is the behemoth, but in 2019, it was a fraction of what it is today. You see growth of over 50% in the last 2 years, and then you're still seeing growth that's pretty significant, 24-25% in the next couple years projected. It's going to account for 13% of all digital media dollars, which is a pretty big number, up from 1% maybe 3 years ago. And the drivers are really positioning for continued growth. So we have more people embracing e-commerce. We have more people getting into e-commerce and selling in e-commerce. Upper funnel advertising, the sponsored brand ads, the sponsored brand video, the DSPs. And Amazon's out there courting non-e-commerce businesses, financial firms, et cetera, to start using their advertising products. And again, that mid and that upper funnel. So we're seeing a lot more competition starting to drive those prices up. So on your left, you see kind of the growth of the spend in advertising on Amazon versus in black, the growth of e-commerce. And that's offset. So you've got some supply and demand problems coming here because the demand is not growing as fast as the supply of advertisers. So what's happening in the middle box is CPCs are going up. This is according to PackView. And ROAS, the efficiency, the return, is actually getting worse. And you can see some similar differences here from Perpetua, another technology up there showing that, yes, it works well, but we're starting to see some declines. I'm excited to hear from our brands to talk a little bit more of their business and how they're dealing with some of these things. So let's now look at search, display, and retail media. And I apologize because the colors shift a little bit, so you'll have to look on each graph. Again, Google was at the top or is at the top for search, but sadly has lost about 11 points in their share. And you see in black, that's Amazon growing. So the search market is rapidly shifting. In the middle, you've got the display. This is a lot of video. This is Facebook. This is Pinterest. And of course, Facebook, Instagram's kind of at the top, has lost a little bit of share. I think a lot of that's the iOS changes. And you see on the bottom gray, that's Amazon is starting to rise. So again, Amazon's starting to take share there as well. And then last is the retail media. Obviously, Amazon is dominant, but we are starting to see some growth from Walmart and from Instacart. And then finally, retail media networks are growing. There's probably a new one launched every day. I heard yesterday Albertsons is launching theirs as they spoke in the keynote. And eMarketer's done a good job of kind of rating some of the top retail media networks for us in what's important to the folks. So the traffic, the first-party data, the targeting and measurement, and then the platform experience. And what a surprise, eBay actually won. They didn't win in traffic, obviously that's Amazon, but in terms of using data and being able to retarget and getting some consumer data out of the platform, have some wins here. And then you look at some brands like Walmart and Target. Rumor has it Target only let 500 brands last year into their marketplace. That's not a lot. On one hand, I love the curated nature, but if I've got pretty good brands, boy, they make it really hard to get into. And then some of their ad products leave a lot to be desired. Again, they're in nascent stages, but again, big brands, you'd kind of hope they'd move a little bit quicker. But a lot of opportunity there. So, without further ado, put your hands together. Gentlemen, come on up. Let's turn this into a panel. Cool. So now we're going to talk about how those trends affect brands like Mike's Hot Honey, US Water Filters, and LumiWorld. But welcome to Rice 22, guys.
Thank you for having us.
You want to start, Matt, with an introduction of you and your business?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here with everyone. My name is Matt Beaton. I'm the CEO of Mike's Hot Honey. We are kind of what the name sounds like. We're a chili-infused honey, a condiment business based out of Brooklyn, New York. I know there's already some fans here who have had the product before. I think what's unique about our business is and for this panel in particular, we come to life through e-commerce, of course, but we also have a substantial brick-and-mortar retail business as well as branded food service. So again, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Cool. Brian?
Yeah. President of US Water Filters. We are a 100% e-commerce water filter business. We have our own brands and five of our internal websites selling both generic product as well as OEM branded products like GE, Frigidaire, and all the other water filters that you could possibly imagine. So thanks for having me, Jeff.
All right, Chris.
All right, Chris Spenner with LumiWorld. We keep the monsters away. We're a silicone nightlight, children's nightlight. We're on marketplaces and brick and mortar. So thanks for having us.
Beautiful, guys. All right. So let's get into the questions. We saw e-commerce growing at around 15% annually. How does that compare to your business, and where are you seeing the most growth? Oh, Chris, do you want to start?
We're seeing the most growth right now on obviously marketplaces for the most part, like a lot of businesses are. Definitely seeing, obviously, like you put that statistic up, 74% of the people start their search on Amazon. So that's where our biggest growth obviously is. But we're also growing on other marketplaces that we've seen some big movement on. Wayfair, we've seen huge growth there, and also Target. And what are the other ones we got? Bed Bath & Beyond. So that's where we've seen a lot of growth lately.
Cool, cool. Brian, what about you? How's your business growing, and where are you seeing the most growth?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, we're actually oversaturated on Amazon. I'm actually uncomfortable with the amount of business that is on Amazon currently. It is a risk for us, so we are looking to diversify that. That is part of our strategy for the next 12 months. We're trying to diversify that on Home Depot, Lowe's, and then actually the big area that we're growing in is partnerships. We actually have competitors coming to us looking for order fulfillment and being able to be put on our direct-to-consumer site. So a little bit different for me trying to diversify out of Amazon.
All right, Matt.
We're seeing a lot of growth from our brick and mortar retail, which is also fueled by the efforts they're putting into their own e-commerce sites. Food service is growing, and as much as we don't probably like to talk about it anymore, COVID over the past 2 years did a big boom for our business on e-commerce. People were obviously buying their food consumables online versus brick and mortar, and so it's made things a little bit opaque and not necessarily a great base to take insights from. But we're a little sluggish right now in e-commerce in 2022 versus where we were last year.
Interesting. It's not all roses.
It's not all roses,
as
no.
some people think with e-commerce. So good to get the real stuff out. All right. So a few mentions of marketplaces. Let's talk about the D2C websites, right? So how do you balance website growth and objectives with the Amazon and the other third-party marketplaces that already have the consumer visitation? I always say fish where the fish are, right? The fish are on the marketplaces, but how does that impact your website and plans there? And what are some pros and cons between your website and marketplace channels? Brian, you want to start?
Yeah. So like I said, we're oversaturated on Amazon right now. It's quite a large risk for us. So I think the biggest mover for us is subscriptions. If we can get a consumer to our direct-to-consumer site and then lock them into a subscription that every 3 months or 6 months that water filter just shows up at your house. Yes, Amazon is also doing those type of subscription models, but trying to entice the customer to come direct to our site to do those subscriptions is definitely a strategy that's well underway for us.
Any tactics to share of how you try and get them off Amazon?
Well, I mean, look, one of the things we're doing right now is, fridge filters is probably the biggest revenue driver for our business. So any refrigerator with a water filter in it, that water filter is designed to stop when the water will stop. So likely your significant other on a Saturday morning is saying, hey, the fridge stopped working, give me a water filter real fast. And instead of going to Amazon and typing in 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's just a part number, we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that you're coming to our direct site. And one of the ways we're doing that is QR codes. So we're putting the QR code right on the filter. You scan the QR code, you'll come right to our site. Likely entice you with some sort of enter your email address for a hot deal or a flash sale, and then try to get them on the subscription model.
Cool. Chris, where's the website play in your quiver of tactics?
Well, the website has been neglected because everybody's been going to the marketplaces. Over the last 6 months, we've really put an emphasis on growing the actual D2C site. We found that obviously through search, Google Shopping does pretty well for us, but the return still isn't where the marketplaces are. So we're actually struggling for that D2C because, most people will go to Amazon first, especially if you're looking for children's night lights. You're going to Amazon. It's just, I think our overall conversion rate on our D2C side has been poor. It's something we're working on. It's definitely something we're working on in 2022, but it's been a struggle to compete against those marketplaces.
Yeah, and conversion rates are always high. Matt, when we first met, you were saying, hey, point the traffic, even the Google and the Facebook and more over to Amazon, because you had such higher conversion rates there that it made up for that commission that they charge.
Sure, it was a factor of conversion rates, absolutely, but also profitability. And I think we've surprised a lot of people that we've worked with before they get a peek behind the scenes that Amazon has been historically more profitable for us per purchase than our website. And that's a reflection of the product that we're selling. Not all products are equal. We sell a 12-ounce or maybe a 24-ounce bottle, and the picking and the packing and the fixed costs that go into that we're doing on our website just really dilute that profitability, where Amazon has the scale to deliver a good margin for us. And so we go where we make more money, and that fueled our Amazon growth. But we also look at our website a bit different. It offers brand building, connection with our consumers, and we do think and hope they're going to our site for a little bit different of an experience.
Right. And notoriously, most of those third-party marketplaces are not sharing any consumer data. So, Brian, you kind of mentioned you were using QR codes. Anything else, or any other hacks to try and get some interaction with consumers?
Yeah, we got to drive them to the site somehow. I mean, the easiest thing is a QR code. I mean, we sell pool and spa filters, so anybody has a pool or a hot tub, how to get that, when that filter comes out and it looks disgusting, how to get a consumer to go to our website instead of Amazon. QR codes is the latest and greatest. I know it's a little bit older technology, but it seems to be working to drive them right to the page that they need on that SKU, and then target with them hot deals or get an email address. Part numbers. I mean, there's ways to only offer certain things on Amazon and or marketplaces and other things on your in value packs or some way to get them attracted to your direct to consumers.
And I know that's one way we've seen some clients deal with map pricing is have a unique product, even though it might not be that unique, but make it a unique model number or whatever for Amazon and whatnot, so it can be priced a little differently. Almost like when you go to Best Buy versus Whirlpool.com, like the model number has a U after it, and that's just the model that they sell at Best Buy. So, any other hacks, Chris? Amazon Posts is one you've used a little bit to interact with consumers.
Yeah, Amazon Posts have been great. I don't know too many, I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but Amazon offers Amazon Posts. It's more like a social network for them. It also goes on all of your listings. But then once you get a following, you can use what's called customer engagement emails and actually target and email your customers on Amazon. And that's been huge for us. Going right, I mean, it's something that, if you're able to use it through Seller Central, I would recommend it. It's definitely helped us with conversions and increasing our sales.
Okay. Well, let's talk about return. We saw, CPCs were going up and ROAS was going down. Tell me a little bit about, Amazon competition and performance for your brands. Are you seeing it taper off? And any tips or tricks or directions for a brand looking to get started on Amazon?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah. Look, the water filter business has become very commoditized over the last couple of years, as you can probably imagine, and we're seeing a tremendous amount of competition come to the market, specifically on Amazon. One of the values that we're looking at is actually bringing our manufacturing back to the U.S. For multiple reasons. One is obviously supply chain issues, but we actually think there's some value there in a highly commoditized product to maybe not be the cheapest anymore, maybe have a little bit of value proposition made in America or made in North America at least. So we're looking at supply chain options would be our top right now.
Okay. And performance ROI, CPCs, are you seeing them go the direction you want, or?
Not specifically. I think we have a good idea of where we want them to go and kind of how we're going to get there over the next 12 months. But no, they haven't been moving in the right direction, to answer your question.
Okay. Matt, you want to jump on performance?
Yeah, your slide summed it up for sure. There's some headwinds in terms of performance. There's no tips or tricks or hacks, and I am not the I'm an operator, a food manufacturer, so there's a lot more people that can consider themselves e-commerce experts here than myself. But I think from a marketing perspective, what we're learning and trying to do is the layering of our tactics together, hopefully increasing just the efficiency of the accumulation of all of our efforts, and not just looking towards one tip or trick that can necessarily be a huge unlock, because I don't really think that low-hanging fruit exists right now.
Yeah, it's gotten tougher. What about LumiPets? Are you seeing more competition in the nightlight business and any approaches to improve performance?
So, yeah, we do see competition all the time, especially copycats. I mean, when we first got into Amazon, we put up a bear and we put up a hippo and we put up all these nightlights. And within 3 to 6 months, you see it on Alibaba. So then if somebody's buying it, now you're competing, and you really can't be, you have to be different is what we're learning. Somebody puts it on Alibaba, and now all of a sudden, the price has been cutting and it's a race to the bottom, right? So for us, it's been, we have to actually develop proprietary designs now. Like we have a puppy and a cat that we've developed that is completely different than what somebody can do on Alibaba. They're actually going to have the mold to mimic it, and we make it harder for them to copy. But with a lot of the nightlights, what we started with, it's been a struggle just because you have the same product. They're selling at $17.99, we're at $24.99. So branding has become extremely important off of Amazon for us, and so that's we do face that struggle every day, and I'm sure a lot of you guys also face that struggle as well. So yeah, it's day in, day out, and product differentiation has been the key.
Can you talk more, Chris, about how we are looking at product level, SKU level analysis for break even to really find out, based on your price and your cost of goods sold, how much we can advertise?
Sure. So with Amazon, this is a really good strategy that we've seen and used. But on Amazon, it's when you advertise, for us, this is what we've seen. You're spending money on advertisement and you're going to get better organic rankings. However, you have to look at your advertisement, you have to look at the BSR. Like your BSR is going up, you're getting better ratings. But there's a correlation between how much money you're spending on ads. You can't just assume, hey, I'm going to slap something on Amazon and rank just by search engine optimization. That doesn't work. You've got to spend money to pay to play. Well, the thing is, you also don't want to actually just lose money on ads. And so what we do is we work on break-even analysis, and we're trying to figure out exactly what our break-even ROAS is on each individual product. So for instance, if our break-even is $2.50, our total, then we're trying to make sure that we're at $2.50 ROAS. We don't care if we break even on ads as long as our organic sales are going up. So as long as our organic's going up and we're breaking even on ads, that's a win. So that's exactly kind of our strategy that we've been doing, and we just constantly drive it. And if that ROAS is over 250, we just keep spending money. And that seems to be working for us.
It's a good pro tip. So focus on volume at break even to then drive organic, and then look at total ROAS and total profitability against that ad spend and all your sales.
Yep, correct.
It's a great way to do it. And again, you're not losing a penny because you've really calculated even agency costs, tech costs, all into that break even. So good tip, thank you. So Chris, maybe back to you, or Brian, go back to you. How are you defending market share from lower priced encroachment, especially as COGS seem to be increasing?
Yeah, it's continuously evolving. As everyone knows, the container prices are going up and then they're coming down, and tariffs, in our world, the tariffs are coming off. So we have a new race to the bottom. Everybody seems to be moving the price down very aggressively. My job is to eliminate risk out of the business. And I talked about, U.S. manufacturing. I think getting the product closer to the consumer is absolutely the right decision right now. Maybe we don't, move all of our product to U.S. manufacturing, but we absolutely need to eliminate that risk. So, risk analysis top of mind right now in that front.
All right, Chris, Chinese knockoffs are happening.
Yeah,
It's just a way of life. Just got to stay ahead of them for 3 months.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You've got to be product development, like I talked about a little bit earlier. You've got to stay ahead of them. You'll find that they'll copy it, they'll have a lower price point, they're going to manipulate reviews. As we all see on Amazon, they use that to regulate. Obviously, consumers trust those reviews, but if somebody's manipulating it, have a lower price, chances are a consumer's going to look at that, click, bought. So the way, we definitely have to fight against that by branding and building trust off of Amazon, like I said before. And it's been a struggle, but I think we've really done a great job in 2022 so far of building trust of consumers off of Amazon.
I saw the stat where 73% of new sellers on Amazon were China-based in the last year. So, if you're Amazon, I guess you really don't care where that money comes from, but if, you take out a few middlemen, everything's being manufactured in China, take two $10 sales instead of one $15 sale up from the US company. They're going to do that all day long. So we've actually seen Amazon, build everything from specific shipping lanes and transportation to help Chinese sellers get to the US, to specific training and call centers for support in Mandarin and more. So I don't think that is going to stop. And, I think that's probably a big thing for consumers. Will the price versus, non-US sale matter, right? We all love cheap stuff, but at some point when, 73% of new sellers are Chinese, do we as Americans care, or do we keep buying cheap? So,
And
I don't
look,
know.
there's tools out there that you can track that stuff. So, if you're not tracking your competitors' imports and what's coming into the country from where, I highly suggest you start doing that. It doesn't hit the port and show up on the shelf right away. You have time to react, but there is tools out there.
Any name drops there?
Yeah, so I'm not getting any sort of kickbacks or anything, but Import Genius, if you're not using Import Genius, highly recommend it. There's a new one out there, I haven't used it yet, Import Yeti or Yeti Import, one or the other. I saw some ads on that one, but I personally use Import Genius. I've used it for the last couple of years. It's working really well. Starting to build that database of where your competitors are buying from, how they're buying, what their trends are, seasonality, if you have seasonality in your business. Highly recommend start building that database.
Cool.
I didn't know that existed.
I should totally ask
Scary
for,
as a manufacturer.
Import Genius for a kickback on that one.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it sounds like building brand is becoming much more important to deal with the low prices. So, there's three things, right? You either have the lowest price, you have a brand that people trust and are willing to pay up for, or you have some really strong differentiators. So if you don't have maybe even two of those three things, you might want to second guess a big spend in Amazon, or maybe tiptoe in for a test. Cool. Chris touched on reviews, Matt, but I'll kick it to you. Review quantity and quality are a large barrier for entry for many brands, right? You're going to launch something new and your competitors have 10,000 reviews. Like, goodness gracious. You guys crush it on reviews. How are you getting the quality reviews that you've gotten so far? And how many do you even know?
Yeah, we on Amazon, we have about 50,000 reviews on our core product.
That's some good honey.
Yeah, it's some good honey, and I feel really good saying we haven't paid for a single one of those reviews. We haven't gone out and pushed for those reviews, and I think as Jeff was just alluding to with the brand, like you got to start with a product that has a reason for being, and that's a great product that people want to talk about. And at the end of the day, we're trying to build a brand, we're trying to build a business that's sustainable, and you can't accomplish that if you don't have a great product. And so there's definitely money to be made by a fly-by-night launch from a product in China or wherever else, but if you're in it for the long run, just focus on making something great, and I think people are going to see that and talk about it. I don't have a great tip or trick.
Yeah. Obviously you can't pay or give discounts for reviews, but any other tips from you guys on how to grow some reviews?
I would absolutely pay for them right now. I'm just joking.
No, you're not.
to each their own. I mean, we're all in different business models.
Yeah. Any other?
I would just say you can get automation. Amazon kind of frowns upon that, but it's not against the terms and services and not getting paid for anything. But like Helium 10 has an automation software that you can use that sends out automatic emails after a purchase, and you can set up the actual cadence based on after delivery and how many days after delivery. So you can kind of put it on autopilot. It's something that I would obviously recommend. You can also put QR codes into the actual packaging that can help as well, or just have a good product that somebody wants to review.
Yeah, even something as like even if it's a copy, but a handwritten note
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from the owner. You know, hey, female-owned business. Thanks for your support. Would love a review. So
We still get excited when there's an opportunity for us to address a challenge or a complaint, because it's an opportunity to win somebody over, and those are the people that are going to come back and write a great review and evangelize about you. So old school stuff that can get unwieldy as you get bigger, but
yeah, it was a big part of the keynote this morning was, you know, how to make that connection with customers. So
yeah.
it's a good opportunity. Cool. We've hit a lot on Amazon. What other retail media networks and marketplaces have you tested, and where have you found some success? Chris, you want to start?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Wayfair we're having a lot of success on. Target and Bed Bath & Beyond.
And are those all three like 1P models where you're, I mean, maybe talk about that. Are you?
So we're not any of our, I guess Target is 1P model, but you know, Wayfair is not, Bed Bath & Beyond is dropship as well. So I mean, that's where we're seeing a lot of success. We're running a lot of really good ads through Criteo on a lot of those platforms that are helping get exposure and converting into sales. The one that we're really struggling on is Walmart, and there's just not a lot of search right now for children's nightlights on Walmart. I mean, there's just nothing there. I think they're probably number 7 or 8 on our list. I mean, our website's beating Walmart right now, which blows my mind.
We were pitching a client, and they wanted some referrals for Walmart, and I gave him Matt's name, and he's like, "Oh no, we talked to your referrals. They said not a lot happening with Walmart, so we're gonna put it on ice for now." Just kidding you, but
No,
that happened. But
that's okay. Yeah.
But
We've kind of,
Walmart is disappointing, huh?
yeah, I mean, so as I mentioned coming in, we're a bit unique that we have brick and mortar as a big part of our business, and all those brick and mortars have their e-commerce platforms. So for us, it's all 3P, if we can call it anything. We're wholesaling to these customers, and they're selling on our behalf. But yeah, Walmart as an example, even in that 3P model, under indexes for us hugely versus like the share of grocery that's being done for them overall on the website versus the share that we're gleaning, how you compare it to what we're doing in brick and mortar. We just way under index. We've put some money into it. We put some resources, time, and focus. Nothing really seems to click. We put it on ice, and we're waiting. I think one tip I can give is if something's not working, pull back.
Yeah.
Because there's other ways that you can win. And so we've pulled back on Walmart for a bit, and we'll reevaluate as we go.
All right. Any other winners out there that you found? Instacart's one that's
Yeah,
doing well.
Instacart has worked really well for us. There's a wholesale platform called Fair, which works really well for us.
B2B, right?
Yep. Target's done pretty well. GoPuff is another one that's out there.
Brand new.
So yeah, there are things popping up. I think that's one trend. A lot are popping up.
Keep testing, you know, no matter what, and just pull back quick if it's not working.
For sure. And for us, I know we've talked about before, Jeff, we want to win that moment of truth when people are going to buy. So we do intentionally spread ourselves on a lot of platforms. We want to be available when people are ready to shop. Hot honey is not something people research extensively. And so I want to meet them whenever they're ready to buy. So if something's popping up, we try to show up there.
Cool. Brian, any platforms that are killing it or disappointing?
You know, we're into B2B right now. It's not something that this organization has done in the past. So, you know, plumbing wholesalers. You know, Ferguson owns Build.com. Is a great, you know, kind of marketplace trades platform. Zorro is owned by Grainger. You know, there's lots of platforms out there depending on what the industry you're in. Just need to look for them. But we're absolutely in diversification out of Amazon, like I said. So we're looking at doing some good things on these wholesale platforms.
Cool. Good tips there to test. Now let's go shift to offline, right? So a few mentions, but you know, largely native online e-com businesses, but the scale, as Matt mentioned, is in the physical retail. Again, still 4 out of 5 purchases in the U.S. What are some of your brands doing to, no pun intended, but knock down those doors? Chris, you wanna start with what physical retailers are you in now with the Lumi Pets?
Target, Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, And those are definitely helping us from a branding standpoint. So if you can go to the store, I was actually discussing this today on a podcast, but ultimately you can go to a store and you're going through the aisle and you see a LumiPad and you're like, oh, LumiPad, it clicks in your head. Maybe you don't purchase it, maybe you go back online, but this is where it comes in. You go to Amazon and now you have that trust factor. Like, oh, I saw LumiPad inside Target, I saw it inside Bed Bath & Beyond, where it built that brand recognition. So now you look at that copycat that's over here that has all these reviews. Well, wait a minute, I saw Lumi at Bed Bath & Beyond or Target. You have that trust, and now that customer will pay that extra money because they trust you. They've seen it in the store. So that's where we're using it, and that's where we're winning right now. And getting into those brick and mortars are part of the online actual strategy as well for building trust and combating those copycats and combating those reviews that are manipulated. We have good reviews, don't get me wrong, but it's, when you have somebody who's manipulating the reviews, you have to build the trust with the consumer. So,
Yeah, Matt, anything to add on, where you're focused for offline growth?
Yeah, I think Chris summed it up as very similar to what I would say. It's a true omni-channel approach. We talk about a flywheel effect, and the proof is in the pudding. When we have more retailers in a region and more food service accounts in the region, our e-commerce sales are higher in that region as well. And there might be some hidden variables in there driving things up, but I think as you can increase points of interruption, you ultimately are going to put yourself in a position to connect with people when they're ready to buy. And so e-commerce isn't a strategy in and of itself. It's part of our collective strategy for the brand and the business overall. So.
And then for brand building, can you speak to any media tactics that you're using and then measuring that lower or that mid and that upper funnel? I mean, what's working and how are you measuring? Because we all got here with direct response, right? Looking at our COGS and our ROAS, but it's a little different when you're building a brand. What are you doing from a media standpoint?
From a media standpoint, we're using social, a lot of social for building brand awareness. Everything from using influencers, affiliates. Just pretty much, you have your consumers right on social, and you have them right on TikTok. So just educating them on those platforms have been, key to our success. That's pretty much, everything we've done.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've done pretty well with affiliate. I'd like to do more in social. Affiliate seems to be the thing that's working for us right now.
Anything with the influencers?
We've dabbled in influencers, more not on the consumable products, more on the longer path to purchase products like a water softener or whole house water filtration system.
Just gotta find the
we've done some stuff there, yeah.
Find the Bob Vila of TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The path to purchase there is a little different than your average fridge filters.
All right. Anything to add on the media front for brand building, Matt?
We, across the whole funnel, I think we found ourselves sometimes very much getting caught up in the ROAS and the immediacy of some of these metrics, while sometimes forgetting that you need to keep filling your funnel and priming the pump of that upper level stuff that's harder to measure, and you got to have a bit of perseverance and patience that you're doing the right thing and the results are going to manifest themselves over time. So we do, we put some stakes in the ground yearly where we just measure brand awareness, aided and unaided, as a measure of how effective those top of funnel things are, and try not to be overly reactive if something at the high funnel isn't working or isn't giving a ROAS.
So you still track ROAS, but you're a little more lenient on those returns.
Much more lenient.
That's great. Let's talk about people. I love the quote, technology is only as good as the people running it. Where have you been finding e-commerce talent, or how are you upskilling your staff? I'm sure conferences like this help. And, how are you getting ahead of the needs in this crazy economy where people are doubling their salaries often? Any thoughts on staff? Besides hiring a killer agency?
Anybody out here?
Nobody solved that one?
Well, I think the first thing I already mentioned, we're food manufacturers, we're operators, we're brand builders. We're humble enough to know that we don't have all of the answers. And so I can't recommend enough that you got to surround yourself with, I believe, a good external team, if it's an agency or some advisors. Like, it's really hard, I think, to keep internal talent, and it's a high expectation for them to have a pulse on everything that's as dynamic as this industry is. Because what's true today is going to be different 30 days from now.
Yeah.
And I think you just need a lot of perspectives, and so I would recommend having a good outside partner for that. Cool.
Yeah, build versus buy for me. So I agree with Matt. External partners, key to success. We have an excellent external partner, but there's parts of our business I can't have an external partner. I need somebody that understands the product we sell from a product management perspective. And to answer your question, those are not a dime a dozen right now. So we're absolutely struggling like everyone else to retain people. But build versus buy on any of those decisions is my analysis.
Got it. It's getting real, yeah. Build by partner, and then you've had some success even like Upwork and Fiverr. So when you don't have some of those skill sets in house, just find some of these, what do they call them? Gig economy workers come in and pitch in a little bit here and there too.
Yeah, Upwork more success than Fiverr. I try to say Fiverr is kind of that's a gamble. You're rolling the dice with that one, but you can still find some good contractors on Fiverr. But Upwork has been successful. I mean, it's much like and on LinkedIn too. I mean, that's where you can find some really good talent. But Upwork has been successful for us to find partners. But yeah, working with partners is obviously where we would go right now to obviously help us grow.
Cool. Two more questions, guys. Congrats on all your success to date, but let's talk about failures. What are some things you wish you knew then that you know now, or any advice for the audience that might be, a few years behind, being multi-million-dollar sellers on marketplaces and D2C websites? What advice do you have, or where have you failed?
The advice is know when to give up when you got a crappy product. That would be it. I mean, when there's a bad product, just stop, liquidate it, move on. Bad design, you should know pretty quick. Don't keep trying to push it. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Cool. Brian?
Yeah, so a little bit past here, but this is my third turnaround business in the last 10 years, and all three businesses that I've come into have no strategy around 1P versus 3P, and for some reason everyone thinks that selling to Amazon is a great idea for them to control your brand and your price and give them all your inventory, and then you got to start unwinding it and come up with a plan. If you're not educated on 1 versus 3 and what those things can do for your business, please educate yourself. Do not get into those difficult strategy conversations where someone else actually owns your price, your market price, your brand. And there is a strategy to run both. You can absolutely do both. But 3 times now I've got caught in this. We're trying to play on both channels, and it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah, Matt, anything?
I would fail this question if this was an interview and you were asking about my biggest failure. I don't have a great answer, and that's not because we've been nothing but rainbows and successful. But I think they're countless. But I think what we've done well, and to Chris's point, is like you know when to move on, you know when to cut bait. And as an operator and a leader, and all of us here to some degree, it's finding the fine line between like committing, because you have to commit, versus knowing when to cut bait and pivot. That's a challenge we all deal with, and there's no place more true than that than e-commerce, where things change so quickly.
Awesome.
No particular one, I'm sorry.
You're good. I mean, you're near perfection. It's good. All right. Well, finally, let's look forward. What big bets are you making in the next couple of years? Are there any partners or channels that look really enticing? Tell us a little bit about the future of your business and where you're placing those chips. Chris?
No, good question. Where are we going to place that? I would say for us, it's going to be brick and mortar, getting into more retail channels. I think that strategy is working for us, and I think that Amazon's just going to get more and more competitive unless they actually do something to stop these, more and more Chinese sellers that come in. It's going to be a race to the bottom. You have to build the brand. So I think that strategy is working. It's going to continue as long as those brick and mortar stores are still open, I guess. But that's where we're going to focus on for the next 3 years, I would say.
Yeah, interesting.
So partnerships seems to be, we kind of accidentally fell into this opportunity I talked about at the beginning, where we've had competitors come to us and look for order fulfillment and product development and e-commerce management because we're really good at e-commerce management. So, the partnerships with what I viewed as a competitor 4 months ago looks like these look like pretty good partnerships, and it's not just one competitor. It seems like there's lots of space out there for collaboration in different markets, and so partnerships is my big one right now. Accidentally, and I'm gonna run with it.
Love it, love it. What's the future look like for the world of Mike's Hot Honey?
I'll keep it focused on the e-commerce relevancy. We have a lot of irons in the fire, given that we're in those 3 channels I mentioned before. But I think, as Brian said, we're over-concentrated in Amazon. A victim of our own success, though. It was just a flywheel that was humming. And given some of the competitiveness, the increased cost, we're trying to find lower hanging fruit elsewhere in e-commerce, with some of those sites I mentioned before popping up. And yeah, I think that's our big bet in e-commerce.
Well, beautiful. Well, thank you all for your time. I don't think there's any time for questions, correct?
Correct. Transition though, if people don't come up.
Okay. But, I think for these guys, it was awesome to see. What I'm taking away is what got you here is not going to get you to the next level. And I think that's good insight for everybody is, what the last 2 or 3 years held for e-commerce success has changed a lot. So to embrace that, to attend conferences, to have partners, and to talk more with your colleagues is going to help a lot. And thank you for your time, and thanks for the insight, gentlemen, and thank you, Internet Retailer.